The life of German pioneers in early Texas. The population of Texas is made up of many different groups of people. People have come to Texas from many parts of the world. Each group brought their own customs and traditions, folkways, and religious beliefs with them to the new land. When you travel through Texas, you will find that the way of life in this state has been shaped by a blend of many different cultures. They create a special Texan way of life. In the 1830s, many Germans crossed the Atlantic Ocean and came directly to Texas. The traveling conditions were hard and dangerous. When their sailing ships arrived on the Texas coast, many immigrants walked hundreds of miles before they reached the land where they would settle. The following story was written by Caroline Von Hineuber, daughter of Johann Friedrich Ernst. Her father established the first permanent German colony in Texas. When my father came to Texas, I was a child of 11 or 12 years. My father's name was Friedrich Ernst. He was a bookkeeper and came from the German Duchy of Oldenburg. In 1829, my father and mother brought our family of 5 children to America. For a short time, our family ran a boarding house in New York. My father became friends with Mr. Fortran, who was a tanner and also a German. A book telling about the new state of Missouri came into their hands, and they decided to move to that state. They went by ship to New Orleans. There they heard that every man who would come to Texas with his family would receive 4,500 acres of land from the Mexican government. This caused them to change their minds about Missouri. We set sail for Texas in a ship, Saltillo. Just as we were ready to start, a flat boat with a party of people and their dogs from Kentucky was tied to our ship. The people came on board, leaving their dogs behind. The poor animals met a sad fate. Whenever the wind rose and the waves swept over the boat, they howled and yelled most sadly. One night the line broke, and we never saw them again. We were almost in as bad a shape as the dogs. The ship was filled with passengers and their bags, so that you could hardly find a place to lie down at night. I firmly believe that a firm wind would have drowned us all. In shallow water the ship often grounded, and the men had to take the anchor on shore and pull her off. We stayed here 5 weeks while Fortran went ahead of us. He chose his 4,000 acres of land where the town of Industry now stands. My father chose land on the west bank of the West Fork of Mill Creek in Austin's colony. We landed in Harrisburg, which at that time had 5 or 6 houses, on the 3rd of April, 1831. Captain Harris had a sawmill, and there was a store or two, I believe. We were the first German family to arrive in Texas. While we were on our way to our new home, we stayed in San Felipe several days. The courthouse was about a mile out of town, and here R.M. Williamson, who was then the judge, had his office. I saw him several times while I was there, and I remember how I wondered about his crutch and wooden leg. Stephen F. Austin was in Mexico at the time. Sam Williams, his helper, gave my father a title to the land which he had already picked out for himself. My father had to kiss the Bible and promise, as soon as the priest should arrive, to become a Catholic. The judge married people on the promise that they would be married again when the priest should come. But no one ever became a Catholic, even though the priest, Father Muldoon, came soon afterward. My father wrote to a friend in Oldenburg describing Texas as a wonderful place to live. The letter was printed in a newspaper there. This brought a number of other families to Texas in 1834. So many families came it seemed like our house was a boarding house after they arrived in Texas. My father helped the families get settled and soon was nicknamed the Father of Immigrants. After we lived on Fortran's Place for 6 months, we moved into our own little house. This was a little hut covered with straw and had 6 sides, which were made out of moss. The roof would not keep out water, and we often had an umbrella over our bed when it rained at night, and the cows came and ate the moss. Of course, we suffered a great deal in the winter. My father had tried to build a chimney and a fireplace out of logs and clay, but we were afraid to light a fire for fear of burning up the place. So we had to stay cold. Our shoes gave out, and we had to go barefoot in winter, for we did not know how to make Indian shoes. We did not have enough clothes, and we had no spinning wheel. We did not know how to spin and weave like the Americans. It was 28 miles to San Felipe, and we had no money. When we could buy things, the material for my first calico dress cost 50 cents a yard. No one nowadays can understand how short we were the most common things, and it's hard to understand how we got along. Yet we did so in some way. We were really better off with household and farm tools than some of our neighbors, but they knew better how to help themselves. One neighbor named Sutherland used his razor to cut small wood, kill pigs, and cut leather for shoes. My mother was once called to a neighbor's house 5 miles away from us because one of the little children was very sick. My mother slept on a deerskin without a pillow on the floor. In the morning the lady poured water over my mother's hands and told her to dry her face on her bonnet. At first we had very little to eat. We ate nothing but cornbread. Later we began to raise cowpeas, and afterward my father had a fine vegetable garden. My father was always a poor hunter. At first we ground our own corn until my father hollowed out a log and we ground corn in that. We had no cooking stove, and we baked our bread in the iron pan that we had. The ripe corn was boiled until it was soft, then it was ground and baked. The nearest mill was 30 miles away. The country was thinly settled. Our 3 neighbors lived within 7 miles of us. There were 2 houses on the road to San Felipe. There was no market for anything you could raise except for cigars and tobacco. My father was the first to put them on the market. We raised barely what we needed of other crops and kept it. We lived in our doorless and windowless 6-cornered house for 3 years.